You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk. We are live on TGI Sports Talk, Northeast Streaming Sports, and welcome to the Zodiac viewers this morning as well. How you guys doing? It's been a beautiful weekend here in upstate New York. I didn't say Northeast. I guess it's the Northeast Streaming Sports Network that makes me want to say Northeast New York. We're really upstate New York here. And by the way, you guys in Westchester County, you're not in Westchester. You're not upstate New York. Just to be clear, in case any of my boys Drew's people are here. Hey guys, great interview with Nancy Finley on Friday. Had a great time with her talking about her dad, Carl Finley, and his basically unknown contribution to the 70s dynasty, Oakland A's, 3 World Series championships in a row, first time since the Yankees had done it since in the 50s. And I thank Nancy for being on. My guest next Friday will be Larry Sorensen, former All-Star pitcher with the Milwaukee Brewers, the Cardinals. It's the Cubs and the Indians, I believe. So we'll have Larry on 8 a.m. Eastern time live, and we'll be talking about that. So today, good morning, Dave Guyette, by the way, number 1 in the room again. Great job. Today, we're going to run down all of Major League Baseball. And I'm going to have, I couldn't get Tim Kirchkin. I couldn't get Buster Olney. But I do have the next best thing in Drew Ehrlich with me, which I'll bring in a second. We're going to run down all of the Major League Baseballs. Let me just bring Drew in while we're talking about this. Morning, Drew.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, although I'm hardly a substitute for those guys.
Well, you know what? I disagree, but that's fine. You're my local expert, and I wanted to have somebody here from our area that I'm the only live streaming webcast. I've never heard me mention that before. I'm the only live streaming sports webcast in East Greenbush, New York. And you're close enough to East Greenbush to say you're my local expert.
20-minute drive, yes.
So I was starting to tell our audience that we're going to cover. Dave Garriette's already asked me what's wrong with the Yankees, but we'll get into that, Dave. And watch my vlog from Friday, by the way. You'll get it all in full Keith mode, by the way. We're going to cover everything today, guys. We're going to go division by division. We'll chat about each team a little bit as much as we can with time constraints. We'll give you our picks for the divisions. We'll give you our picks for the wild cards, league champions, and World Series winners. And if we have time, we'll dive into the individual award winners. It's going to be an exciting season. We do have a little bit of, I started to say, actually, I think before I brought you in, Drew, we've got a little bit of of an advantage over some other people who may have done their preview shows without 7 games having been played. but that's we'll take advantage of that.
Yes,
no. My opinions haven't changed, to be honest with you, real quickly before we dive in. My opinions haven't changed a lot or at all, I don't think, of where I would have been a week ago. To be honest with you, I don't know if yours have, but
no.
I still feel the same way about
things off. Injuries are throwing things off.
Yeah, that will. I mean, there's been some, I don't know if we've lost anybody since the season started for the season, but there's been some injuries to some big players, obviously, that have affected the beginning of the year, and hopefully they won't be guys that are out for long for these guys. So anyway, let's do this. Let's get ourselves. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Rick's going to want his beers soon. Get my second shot tomorrow. We're going to have to get together and get our beers. So we talked about it, our little opening day thought. We're going to jump right into it, guys, so we make sure we can cover everything. We're going to start with the National League, just so you guys don't think my Yankee bias will come out too much. We'll start with the National League.
It will anyway.
And we'll start with the National League East, where Drew might have a bias of his own a little bit. I don't know. But, by the way, sorry, I didn't mean to jump on your Westchester County guys. I know that they probably think they're in upstate New York, but they really aren't.
No, they don't want to be.
That's good.
It's around Rockland and Westchester is downstate.
Yeah, they may not think that, but it's so often I hear maybe it's the media or whatever go, upstate New York in Westchester County, and I'm thinking that's not even that's barely downstate New York for crying out loud.
No.
So, anyway, let's jump right into it. The National League East. I know I told you I start with the Braves. We'll start with your Mets.
Oh, okay. I was going to start with the Braves.
We'll start with your Mets, just because. I don't want to give away too much of my picks, I guess. So I don't want to just give the team I think is going to win, I guess, first. So at the end of and Drew and I are going to do a little thing with over-unders as we review each team as well. So we'll jump right in here and go to your New York Mets. You know what? I see this team, Drew. There's a lot of pressure on the manager, obviously, with the money that was spent over the offseason, the money that's been spent on Lindor. But myself, I see some issues still on this team as far as defense. There's issues defensively at first base, at second base, at third base, left field, center field. I guess
Lindor.
You got Lindor to anchor the entire defense, but he can't play every position, right? So. I mean, I just think there's still some issues to resolve here. The starting pitching's been good. Bullpen is a disaster, which is not, I don't think, a surprise. They miss Lugo, obviously.
Yeah. They keep trying to fix it.
They got a good offense. Obviously, Lindor is a good offensive player. He takes some of the pressure off Alonso. And you've got some other guys that are really good contributors. I love Jeff McNeil at the plate, and he can play around the infield or the outfield, I guess, too, right? But I think he'd be better in that type of position. Yeah. So I think it's going to be. I think the Mets the over under on them, by the way, is 90.5, and we'll talk about that in a second. But give me your thoughts on the Mets and where you see them.
You already covered the big thing. Their fielding is average at best. McNeil is better at second than he is in the outfield or at third. So that's a good thing. But yeah, they're going for the hitting. They're an on-base percentage team. They take a lot of walks. Big power team, except for Nimmo, who tries, but it doesn't work. And but the moves they made with starting pitching is really good. They're a lot deeper there. They can take a hit. We don't know how Syndergaard's going to come back. This is going to be a thing that comes up with a number. We got Severino coming back. We got Sale coming back.
Yeah,
we got all these guys from TJ. When traditionally, the first half year, the control isn't there traditionally. So we don't know what Syndergaard's going to be. But the Walker pickup was nice. I expect Stroman to be strong. He's had a whole year off, so he should be. They got the best pitcher in baseball as far as I'm concerned. I think Jake DeGrom is the best starter in baseball. He doesn't get any support, but he's the best pitcher in baseball.
Right. I saw a post on Facebook the other day in one of the groups I belong to. I think it was one of the Mets groups, and it said, add a movie title that best describes Jacob deGrom's position with the Mets, and the best one I think I saw was 8 Men Out. So don't score any runs for the poor guy.
Actually, he hits, so that works.
yeah, right. That's a good point.
The Carrasco hit was not good, and the Lugo hit is not good. That hits their depth.
Can they survive this bullpen they have, though? I mean, good grief. I mean, I cannot believe that they're going into another season with Edwin Diaz as their closer.
The problem with Diaz is it looked like he was on track until his next implosion. So you just don't know. I mean, they booed him off the field recently, he and Conforto both. You don't know what you're going to get. The tools are there. It's between his ears is the issue.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're going to get. When he's right, he's still one of the best. Trevor May was supposed to be the answer for setup. Hasn't worked out yet. Ken just never seems to be able to spell Keith for some reason.
I actually misspelled it this morning. Well, we're Perth. We're from Perth. We got to have our, work.
But yeah, the bullpen is still a weak spot. They've been trying to fix it for 4 years now, and it hasn't worked. So that's a problem.
What about their bench? I mean, are they strong? You know, they got. Is their bench strong enough to survive some injuries? I mean, you got Dominic Smith backing up a couple of positions and Villar. I don't know. I just don't know if I'm crazy about their bench either.
I actually love their bench.
Yeah.
I don't think when the guys come in, they will replace the same production. For example, you got Almora and you got Pilar.
I do like
Pilar's really reinvented himself. The guy hits, the guy steals. He's great defense. Same with Almora, although he can't hit. And that's the problem. So you'll have guys that can play the roles but won't take on the hitting, that sort of thing. I love Villar. I actually love Villar.
They might be better with Pilar. Before you get up, did you say Pilar or Villar? Sorry, you love
both. I like them both, actually.
Yeah.
Names associated notwithstanding. Villar steals, he hits. You know, give him a shot. I think if he gets his rhythm, he showed what he could do in Baltimore. I think he's a great sub. You know, they got the whatchamacallit, Guillaume that they brought up. The main reason they got rid of the two shortstops is they expect him to be the good replacement. We'll see. Young guys, it's always tough to tell.
It is for sure. Well, that 90, I've got the 90.5. I've got the Mets going under that number myself.
Okay. I got them actually 1 or 2 over.
Okay.
I like what Sandy Alderson has done. They've got good balance. I actually like the bench. I think they're going to have a good year, especially if Carrasco and Lugo come back. God knows they need Lugo back. Actually, J.D. Davis is hurt too. So
yeah,
you know, they're already missing some pieces. That'll allow them to play Guillaume and Villar a bit to see what they got there.
I just think the guys that are playing out of position like J.D. Davis and, you know, left field when you got Dominic Smith out there those days, and the bullpen are going to come back and bite the Mets in the butt. So that's going to be – I'm going to have them under 90.5. So let's go to the Braves.
Yep.
And I'll say quickly that I think the Braves are the best team in this division overall. I mean, I think they have the best overall lineup. I think they've got the best overall pitching in the division, and I just love some of the kids. The local kid Ian Anderson is going to be my sleeper for the. Well, he's not a sleeper really for Rookie of the Year. He still qualifies for Rookie of the Year, and he's going to be my pick if we get to that point. But I just think, and the move they made to get Ozuna in the outfield, I think, really puts this team over the top. So,
okay.
I love their first 3 pitchers. I think they're really good. Fried is very underrated. Excuse me. Charlie Morton brings something to that staff, I think, as far as a veteran influence, and Ian Anderson, I think, is really going to jump forward this year. So. What are your thoughts on the Braves?
Well, here's my because I got all kinds of notes. So here's what I put as a synopsis. They have all the right elements: speed, defense, hitting, power. It's all there.
Yep.
The 5th starter may be a little bit of an issue. Soroka's out, so they're going to need to substitute someone there. So that might be a weak spot. Fried actually, I think he overperformed last year, to tell you the truth. His stuff is average by most standards. And there's a stat, I know you're not big on some of these advanced stats, but one of the stats.
About extra velocity will be all right, probably.
It depends on which ones. But the problem with last year as a standard is nobody got to equalize whatever their true results were going to be. So he looked a lot better because there's a thing called batting average of balls in play, BABIP.
Yeah.
And what it is it's a measure of if someone puts the ball in play, what does it do to their batting average? It sort of takes the fielding out of it to some degree. And his BABIP was way low. I mean, it indicates some luck. on his part. Now he's got a good fielding crew, which helps, but I think you're going to see some regression on his numbers. Morton, I think, is on the other hand, is actually going to be better than he was last year. I think he's going to go back to his Rays figures. Anderson is good. I think they're going to start catching up to him. The question is, will he adjust? We already saw that in his last game. He gave up, I think, 4 runs. His stuff is legit. I mean, he's going to be an ace. The question is, can he make the adjustments as the hitters do? Their bullpen, I love their bullpen. Minter is great. Tyler Matzik, what a comeback story that one is. Big guy from Colorado, never panned out. He looks like a star.
Yeah.
Will Smith is their closer. He had a really bad year, but again, small sample.
Yeah. I kind of like his potential, though. I think he's got some tremendous upside myself.
Oh, he does. And again, I think he's a lefty, right? Which is unusual. But I like him there. So it's great. So their bullpen is actually a strength, and I think it'll bail them out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I think the keys for them are going to be whether Smith can handle the closer role. Austin Riley, who last year started out very well, but the league caught up with him. Actually, 2 years ago, I guess I'm thinking about when he first came up. Last year's almost like an aberration. It's almost like not in my mind. So it's 2 years ago when he came up, he started out really well, and the league kind of figured him out. So he's a key. And then I'm not even sure the kid Pache. How do you say the kid that plays center field? I forget.
Yeah, his problem is he was never a big hitter even in the minors. He's glove first.
Yeah.
And they're giving him a shot, and he's still very young. I think he's going to have some major growing pains. In actuality, Drew Waters, who's down there, is a much better hitter.
Yeah.
Almost as good a fielder. I think you're going to see Waters come up when he starts to struggle.
It's a good point. Their farm is produced some really good players, and they still have some guys ready, almost major league ready, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But many of these guys struggle in the outfield. Like if Pache struggles, they've got his name's escaping me now. In Encarte.
Yeah.
So he's not a bad Major League Baseball player. He's a starter for the last few years.
He's got some speed, good defender. His hitting slacked off a bit. Bit of a hacker. So it hurt him in that regard, and that's why he lost the job.
Yeah.
So he's a backup now. But you're right. Third base is going to be iffy. Austin Riley, they got Panda there to help out.
Yeah. He's only as old as me.
So
and as bad as me as well, I think, by the way.
Swanson, we never know what we're going to get at short.
I like Dansby Swanson. I really do. I really do.
The potential's there, but you never know what you're going to get from him. And Osuna, by the way, speaking of, he had a 391 BABIP, balls in play. The standard is around 310. So he had a lot of luck. I'm not sure you're going to see his production again this year.
That's possible. Well, we got the over-under for the Braves at 91.5, and I've got the Braves going over, as I think, again, they're the best team in this division.
I do as well. I think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to do well in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make it all the way, but I think they're going to do well in the playoffs.
I think they're one of the teams, if all things come together, they can threaten the Dodgers' reign, if anybody can. There's a few teams, but
one thing I do want to mention about them, and this will come up with some of the teams, their management is good.
Yep.
Snitker is a great manager. Anthopoulos is a fantastic GM. He's really put the team together well. And that, one of the things we'll talk about, it's a bad team, it's a good team, but most of this comes back to the management and the jobs they do and the opportunities they see. And some of these guys are really good at it, and some of them not so much. And that's where the identity is.
Yeah, I like the manager a lot. I really do. I think he's done a great job there too. Let's move on to the Phillies. The Phillies are always a kind of a mystery to me. I mean, they've got some really good players. They've got some good pitchers, but some question marks, like everybody. We're going to talk about pitching. We're going to talk about question marks all day long, right?
True.
But, I love Segura. I think he's a really good ball player. Hoskins needs to bounce back, obviously. Didi Gregorius is one of my favorites. I really hoped he was going to land back in the Bronx this year. Did not happen. Their outfield, of course, there's some question marks in center field, and what's Andrew McCutchen got left. Bryce Harper ever going to put it all together? I think they're going to surprise this year a little bit. Actually, maybe a lot. Joe Girardi's not my favorite guy, even though, he was a Yankee manager for a long time. I think teams tend to play a little tight in tight situations because of Girardi's demeanor and the way he carries himself. So that's one of my gripes. And he plays too much by the book. He doesn't play by his gut at all.
Yeah.
But that's not unusual in the major leagues today. So I think this team could surprise. I like the starting staff. I love Aaron Nola. I like Zach Wheeler a lot. Zach Elfin has been a prospect for a few years and has potential. And then the back end, Chase Anderson and Matt Moore have been around the block a few times, and you're going to get what you're going to get. So,
yep.
Bullpen, and again, bullpen's a big question there.
Oh.
I thought Archie Bradley's going to be the closer. He's not. Neris is. So, what's your thoughts there?
Well, I'm not as high on these guys as you are. I think the bullpen is still weak. I mean, they knew they needed to revise it. It's been a thorn in their side. It's the Mets all over again. They needed to fix it. They've tried to bring in people. They brought in Alvarado. They brought in Bradley, which can't hurt, but I don't think they're the answer. Their last two slots in the starting rotation are weak. Center field is very weak. They don't have a lot of reserves to bring up. Unlike the Braves, who are deep, and some other teams we'll talk about. These guys don't have a lot of reserves that they can pull from the minors to help them out if someone gets injured.
No, good point. Very good. And their bench isn't that good. I mean, Brad Miller's their backup at almost every position, I think, for crying out loud.
Pretty much. He and Torres, another Girardi fave. Former Yankee. Nola, it's real interesting with Nola because his stuff, as we know, is good. But he's tended so far to be on an every other year schedule. And unfortunately, last year was a good year. So I don't know what we're going to get this year. But if he stands true and doesn't alternate, he's going to be fine. Zach Wheeler, actually, that was interesting. He actually changed his entire philosophy, probably part of it by going to Citizens Bank. Which is a home run haven. And he was a K pitcher, a strikeout pitcher, that went ground ball. And so he changed his whole philosophy, and it worked really well for him. That is unusual to see a pitcher change his philosophy that drastically and succeed at it. I was impressed with that. Eflin doesn't walk anybody. Gets his Ks. He's hittable because he's always around the plate. But again, ground balls. He knows what works in Citizens. So he's a good pitcher. The bullpen, Neris just scares the crap out of me. Supposedly he's got a new approach. I'll believe it when I see it. He usually walks the bases full and hits somebody. It's not good. The power's there. Bradley would have been better, I think. But he may
still get the job. Neris, they've tried to give that job to Neris for like 5 years, and he's never really grasped it. So,
and they keep giving it to him. And that's Girardi's "I believe in my veterans" type of thing, which I think hurts.
Yeah.
Didi, 25 homers a year, great defense. The guy's still a hacker, though. If he learned how to take a walk and waited for his pitch, he'd really be something. But that's his issue. Bryce, he'll never be more than a 260 hitter, and that's always what keeps him out of the top echelon. But everything else is in place.
Yeah.
The walks are in place. The homers are in place. He can even steal a base for you defensively.
He should be a 300 hitter. He just, again, he's another guy who does not know how to not hitting the shifts and all this other nonsense that will keep guys hitting 260 instead of 300. So
he just won't adjust. But everything else is there. If he could get his batting average up, he'd be the proverbial 5-tool guy.
Agreed.
McCutcheon, Segura, they're both on the downside. We don't know how they're going to do. Hoskins, he still can't hit righties.
He's another guy. He's home run or strikeout.
Here's a term you're going to hear me throw around a lot: the 3-TO, the three true outcomes. He's a 3 true outcomes guy. He's going to walk. He's going to strike out. He's going to hit a homer. That's it.
Yeah, everything that's wrong with baseball today, because nothing happens in two of those 3 things, right?
Correct.
So.
And he's one of those. And Real Muto, of course, is solid. They were lucky they re-signed him.
Real quick, because we got to move on to the next team. Yeah. But Dave Gayette says, is Bryce Harper Hall of Fame material? And I'm going to say at this point, no way. But he's got a lot of years ahead of him.
He's got a lot of years ahead of him. I think in the end he will be. There are guys in there with bad batting averages, but when you do everything else, I think he'll be legit.
But he's going to have to hit 600 home runs to get in the Hall of Fame, I think.
2 other things. Spencer Howard will probably be called up. He's their big rookie.
Yeah.
I don't think he's terribly above average, but he may be a good shot in the arm. And Dombrowski, he's their GM. He makes things happen, but his big strength is to trade off minor leaguers for guys, and he doesn't have a minor league to trade off. So Phillies could be in some problems there.
Rick, real quick, Billy's wondering if Billy and Rick are wondering if they're in jail. It's the second week I'm not seeing any comments other than my own. I think it depends on where you're watching, Rick, and where they're watching. Remember, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Zodiac. So, and I'm broadcasting to my personal Facebook page. So, and the Northeast Streaming Sports page. So there's all places it's streaming to. So it depends on where they are and what you can see. And I'll look into that because I think there is a way you can do that so that you can see all of them. And I'll see what I can find out about that for you guys. Real quick. So the Phillies, the over-under is 80.5, 80.5. I've got them going over in my – because I think they will be a surprise team, even with Joe Girardi at the helm.
Yep. I think they're going to actually be a little lower than that.
Okay. Drew's got them under.
Yep.
Let's move on. We're spending a lot of time in East. I knew we would. AL East, NL East will probably be the team, the divisions we spend the most time on, I'm thinking. So the Nationals. Yep. The Nationals window is closing rapidly. I think, they have not kept up with what the rest of the division has done as far as improving the roster. In fact, they've gotten worse when, one of your big moves of the offseason was Ryan Zimmerman. It comes back. That's not a big Brad Hand is a good addition, too. I shouldn't say that. But, I just don't. There's a lot of question marks in this lineup in Josh Bell, Josh Harrison, Starlin Castro. I love Trey Turner, but Schwarber, low batting average. Again, he's one of those 3 outcome guys for you.
Yep.
Robles has not put it together yet. Great talent. The starting pitching's still pretty good, assuming some of these arms stay on the bodies and Scherzer and Strasburg and Lester.
Yep.
Joe Ross is the 4th starter and has barely pitched in 4 years, I think.
Yep.
But they do have a legitimate superstar in Juan Soto, who, in case we don't get to these later on, my pick for the MVP in the National League is Juan Soto. But I think the Nationals are going to have a very, very rough season in this division.
Yep. Here, my overall comment, they have some nice parts, but a decrease from the starters and an injury to Turner or Soto literally sinks the team. I'm actually expecting injuries. I'm expecting Scherzer to continue declining. We don't know what Corbin's going to actually do. Strasburg's coming back from his injury, although he looks good so far. Lester, I don't know what the Lester signing was about. I really don't. He's a great guy, great teammate. I think he's toast.
He obviously doesn't have much left. That's for sure.
He'll eat some innings, which I guess is what they want.
The best move they made all offseason was Brad Hand, and he's not going to have that many leads to close. So
That's the issue. And they got other guys in waiting. They got Hudson. They got Rainey. It's a nice bullpen. And that's a good, strong suit. Catching, we know what they got in Yan Gomes. He's going to, do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Good catcher, though. Josh Bell, I think.
I can't believe Alex Avila is a backup there. I thought he had retired about 5 years ago, to be honest with you.
My note next to his name was no help. I think his father keeps him in the league.
Possible, yeah.
Father's the GM of the Tigers, for those that don't know. Josh Bell was a great pickup. I expect a bounce back from him when he gets off the IL from his little COVID stint there. Trey Turner, what are you going to say? I mean,
he's a great player.
He's a great player. He really does it all. His only issue was injuries, but if he stays healthy, the guy's, what do I have him down? 25-25 potential. 25 stolen bases, 25 home runs. He fields, he takes a walk. The guy's just dynamite.
But I see a team here, Drew, with two above-average position players in Turner and Soto, and the rest are not that good.
Bell may come there. Speaking of Ryan Zimmerman, every time he takes a year off, he comes back really well. How they're going to use him, I don't know.
Well, he can only play where Bell plays, so how are you going to get him in a lineup?
Exactly. So, it's going to be problematic there. But, yeah, Robles, he's still trying to figure out. He's still young. He's not going to be Soto. There used to be talk of that. He's more speed and defense than that. He's got a good hit tool.
Yeah.
Soto is really the guy. I may agree with you on MVP. He is the package. 40-20 potential, fields, walks, no platoon splits. Yep. The guy has no platoon splits against left or right-handed, and he's only 22. It's scary as hell. It's a shame he's on that team. My concern is they got no one to bring up. Keyboom didn't work out. There's no one in the minors, which isn't Rizzo's fault, but things just happen. You get tied up with these contracts. We're going to see this with a couple of teams. You're limited what you can do financially, and it's not going to be good. I like Rizzo. I like Martinez as a manager. I think that's a good management structure. But these guys are definitely on the way down.
Yeah, I think the window's shutting fast. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that the over-under is as high as it is at 84.5. I am definitely going under that number.
As am I.
And lastly, hate to bring them up last because one of my favorite ball players of all time, still managing that team in Donnie Baseball, the Miami Marlins.
Yep.
Surprise last year, made it all the way to the division series, in the expanded playoffs. And again, a 60-game season is not really representative of what you can expect over a full season. And Mel Stottlemyre Jr., by the way, is a pitching coach there, who is one of my favorites as well. Had his brother Todd on my show a few months ago. Great guy, great family. Mel's gonna get on whenever he's got some time. But this team is, good grief. It's hard for me to find outside of Starling Marte and Corey Dickerson to some extent. I mean, again, where is the talent in this lineup?
In the lineup, nowhere. In the pitching,
they do have some young pitchers but again, young pitchers can be undermined by bad offenses and defenses. So
they can. They actually have some decent hitters. There's no superstars. This team is all about the starting pitching, and it's solid starting pitching, and it's young. Alcantara, Pablo Lopez is great. Eliezer Hernandez, who's on the IL now, but pitched really well. Trevor Rogers, who just showed up out of nowhere, another rookie that they put in, is pitching well. And this doesn't even include Sisto Sanchez, who's down in the minors and has 99-mile-an-hour pitches, and it's a fabulous starting rotation. The bullpen is the opposite. There's nobody there.
I just see it being a tough year. And Carlos mentions that Jeter just rebooted the minors, but the Marlins have been rebooting the minors for 15 years. Well, I shouldn't say that. A couple of years they've gone all in and it's failed miserably, right? But I'll get yes. I think it's possible Jeter could be onto something here over time. Problem is we're a win now league, and you can't take 5 years to put a winner together anymore. Especially, I hope there's the patience that Carlos is asking for Jeter is there for Donnie, because he's the guy who's going to take the heat for the losses, right?
Right. Well, Jazz Chisholm's going to be interesting to watch. They gave him the second base job over Diaz, and he's already shown he can blast them, and he's a hell of a fielder. Whether he can do anything in between, we don't know. But he was the big part of that trade, and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do.
I think it'll be interesting to see when Starling Marte gets traded, actually, because I don't see him being a long-term. I think they picked him up last year because they were making a playoff push. I was a little surprised they didn't trade him in the offseason to a contender, but he'll probably be on everybody's shopping list here come July, if not.
Oh, yeah. Great trade chip. Here's a player I'm just going to throw out just for fun. We all have our favorites. I love Garrett Cooper. I think he's a solid player.
Another ex-Yankee.
He's a 280 hitter, good power, great discipline at the plate.
Yeah.
I like him.
He's a guy that doesn't. He's a guy who doesn't pop to the top of your mind right away, but he is definitely a decent. He'd be a really good piece on a good team, right?
Exactly.
But on a bad team, he kind of gets lost.
He's a starter at that point, and that's. You're probably going to see JJ Bleday, I think, show up. He's their next outfield rookie, and I think the hiring of Kim A and matching her with Mattingly is a great move. She's incredible baseball mind. She's been involved in most of the biggest trades that people don't know about that she was.
Yeah,
I think that's going to help them a lot in the fucher, I think.
Yeah, it's certainly a progressive move by the Marlins, and definitely not just a in name only or for show. She knows her stuff. She's been around and paid her dues for sure.
Solid baseball person.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pick the Braves to win this division.
Wait, Marlins is going to be more better or worse than 70?
Oh, sorry, I forgot the over-under. 70.5, they're going to be under that number.
Okay, I'm expecting them actually to be quite a bit over.
Ooh, interesting.
And even higher than a couple of the other teams in the division.
I think it's possible they will actually finish ahead of the Nationals. I think the Nationals are going to crash.
And burn, yes.
Yeah. But at least the Marlins have got something to look forward to. The Nationals just don't. I don't think.
It's not good.
So I do have the Braves winning this division, by the way, and I will put in there and we'll talk about it again at the end of this, but I have the Phillies, surprisingly, getting one of the National League wild cards.
Okay. I don't.
Sorry, Met fans, I don't have you in the playoffs. Let's move on to the Central, and we probably want to pick it up just a bit probably through this one, but that's okay. We're doing good. Let's start with the Cardinals. Always, seems to be in the thick of things in this division. It's this isn't one of the better divisions in baseball. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. That's for sure. I think the Cardinals. When Adam Wainwright's doing some wonderful things still, it's amazing. He's had injuries and age is obviously an issue there. Hang on, let me get this back up here. They're getting old, the catcher. I love Molina, but I do believe even at his age, if Didi was a Yankee shortstop, I'm jumping ahead of myself, and Molina was a catcher, they'd be winning the World Series this year. That's just me. Goldschmidt doesn't do what he did when he was in Arizona. It'll be interesting to see what Arriendo does outside of Coors Field. He's a tremendous fielder as well, though. DeJong, has got some really good upside, and then their outfield is what's really going to be the question mark probably there, and how well these younger guys perform. And again, questions in the in their amongst their pitching staff, which is going to be a common theme. But
Yep. They're going to compete because, well, it's the National League Central. So they all compete except maybe the Pirates.
Yeah.
Depending on how the arms hold up. The bullpen is actually the savior of this team. They got Reyes now as the closer, which is interesting.
It will be interesting if he can handle the workload, because he's had arm problems throughout his career. So,
which is why they moved him there.
Yeah,
they got Gallegos to back him up. They got Hicks to back him up. Andrew Miller is sort of
Miller's interesting. He's an interesting addition to that. Yeah.
So that's their strong suit. Wainwright's found the fountain of youth. Flaherty, we don't know what we're going to get. The issue with these guys is Mikolas and Kim and Dakota Hudson are all injured. Kim should be back next week, and I think that was a great addition. There's no timetable on Mikolas, and of course Hudson had TJ. So that's what's going to hurt him there is the back end of their rotation.
Yeah, it's amazing. Carlos Martinez really has lost a lot of it over the last several years.
It's not pretty. He wants to be a starter so badly, and I don't even think he's a good reliever.
Yeah.
Sorry to say. Arenado, by the way, was a 277 hitter away from Coors, so I'm not overly concerned. Dejan is his issue is he strikes out a ton. He's a good fielder, but he doesn't balance it out with batting average. I'm not a Dejan. And the outfield. Talk about potential, but they are defense and speed first and hitting second. None of them, Carlson hasn't been what they thought he was going to be. O'Neill, Bader, none of these guys have panned out. They're great fielders. They're always a fielding first to try to help their pitching staff. The hitting hasn't been there. I don't know why they don't give Lane Thomas a shot. The guy's 26 and they still keep burying him, and at least we know he can hit. But they keep burying behind all these young guys like Austin Dean and these guys.
I just think with the outfield question marks and the starting pitching question marks. I mean, Flaherty's a great pitcher. Wainwright, if he stays healthy, will certainly give Wainwright numbers. And I like their manager a lot too. Schlitt's done a great job there, I think. And you can't take anything away from him. But 80.
And so is Mosley, the GM, with what he's had to work with.
Yeah. So, and they always find a way to contend. They rarely does the bottom fall out on the Cardinals. So we'll see. 86.5 is the over-under here. I'm going under, though, for the Cardinals this year.
Yeah, I said that was a little high as well. And you're not going to see any rookies coming up. Their two best rookies are still too young to bring up. So there's not a lot in reserve.
Agreed. We'll move on to the Milwaukee Brewers, who I think will be a surprise team myself. Again, I love their manager, Craig Counsell. I think he's done a tremendous job there. There's question marks. I mean, I think Yelich, if he's healthy, is the best. Among the best couple of players in the National League. Certainly not, maybe not in all of baseball, but he's certainly at the top of his game, one of the best players in the game. But he's got to be healthy, right?
Yep.
I think Corbin Burns also will be one of the key players in the National League races. I expect him to really step forward with a good year this year. Woodruff is a good pitcher. Things are a little shaky after that with their starting staff. There's another bullpen that I love, actually. One of the few bullpens that I love in baseball is the Brewers. As far as our lineup goes, there's some question marks outside. They signed Jackie Bradley Jr. late. I think it's a nice pickup, though, to be honest with you. I was shocked that he didn't sign. I was shocked the Mets didn't sign him, to be honest with you. But there's some question marks outside of there's question marks in right field. There's question marks if you like the kid at shortstop, I don't know yet myself. Not much of a body of work to kind of look at. Colton Wong is a steady player at second base. They've moved. Can never say his name either. Drew Curia to first base. I was a little surprised at that move. And I'm not in love with their bench either. So, but because of their front of their pitching staff and their bullpen and Counsell, I like this team to maybe overperform this year myself.
I actually have them winning the division.
As do I. As do I.
You know, this team's going to do it on pitching, situational hitting, and defense.
Yeah.
Woodruff, high K, low walks, ground
balls. By the way, not to interrupt you, by the way, that will be refreshing to watch. I will watch them anytime that I can catch them on TV because that's the type of baseball I want to watch. I don't want to watch your 3-outcome baseball, Drew. I just don't. But
yep, they're old school. And that's Counsell, who is possibly the best manager in baseball. And David Stern's doing what he can with a small market team. You know, he tries to make it work. Burns, just in case, you know, people like, why did this guy come out of nowhere? He was a nothing pitcher. He added a cutter, and that's what made the difference. Someone else to watch, Freddie Peralta. They've been waiting for him for a while to put it together. I think he's going to.
That's an excellent point. Yeah.
And he's only 24. You know, he's always waiting forever. He's only 24. So I think he's good. Hader and Williams, of course, probably the best 1-2. Here's a name to throw off. Fire Reason. JP Fire Reason in their bullpen has already started well. They added Brad Boxberger, by the way.
Yeah.
Nice backup. To your point on Hiura, he's a crappy fielder. So they moved him to where they thought he could do the least damage, which is first. Because he's got a
crappy fielders don't really help you at first base. It's a misnomer, and you know, defense at first base is not, you know, a non-requirement. By the way,
I understand, but they felt he would do less damage there than at the key.
Yeah.
Wong just got injured. He's got an oblique injury, which is a big hit. I mean, again, they brought him on for his fielding and his on-base skills.
He's a nice player. When he's healthy, I think he's a nice player. I like him a lot.
He was a great addition. Didn't cost them a lot, and he adds exactly what they like. You know, speed, defense, a mindset. They're trying Travis Shaw again. God help him.
Not a big Travis Shaw guy.
I like the guy, you know, but you're right. Urias, we don't know. I mean, you know, they dumped the other guy that was his backup, so that's a hurt. Yelich, Kane, if he comes back solid, is still solid. I don't care that he's 35. The guy can still do his job.
Yeah.
And Bradley. It's a solid team. And in this division, I think it's enough. Problem is they don't have any prospects to bring up, so that's why they did the free agent signings. They're going to be.
As with you, I have them winning the division. The over-under is 82.5, and I've got them going well over that myself.
Yep, I agree.
And Craig Counsell is the manager of the year in the National League, in case we don't get to some of that later on, which I got a feeling we may not. But I'll throw some of that out as we go. Manager year. Let's move on to the Cubs, another team that, you know, the window is rapidly closing on their, this group's chances, and I just don't see it getting better this year myself. You know, I liked the hiring of Ross when they hired him, and I don't think this is his issue. I think when Epstein left, the front office went to sleep, basically. You know, Connor Hendricks, who I like, he's a nice pitcher, but if he's your number one, you already can start looking for trouble. Craig Kimbrell, his best days are behind him, and you know he came back after I think a poor start last year. Again, I'm having trouble remembering some of last year sometimes, but he didn't pitch well for a few years before that. Drew,
no.
Rizzo's a nice player. Chris Bryant has not ever reached his potential. They've been looking to trade him. Even Baez has kind of not progressed, you know, and he's up and down on defense. Jock Peterson is another one of your, you know, 3-outcome guys who I just hate. Guy I like a lot in the outfield is Ian Happ. I like him. I like his game, and he can play. He's playing center field, but he can play some other positions on the team as well. And it's good to have guys like that around. Yeah. And Jason Hayward, how he's still a starter, that's just me. So I think the team is, you know, look at the starters are just I go Jake Arrieta gets re-signed, and he's their third starter. Zach Davies is their second starter. Trevor Williams couldn't make it with the Pirates. And then the bullpen, I don't know. I just see this team really trending downwards still.
Yeah, the pitching staff is scary, and not in a good way. I mean, they got David Bote as their starting second baseman. Jock Peterson's another Schwarber. They literally substituted one for the other.
Good point.
Along with the same platoon split. I mean, they're literally identical. Although Peterson's a better fielder. That's about it. Hendricks is the Greg Maddux of his age. He's a junker he's probably the smartest pitcher on the planet.
He's a nice pitcher. He just can't be your ace, I don't think. But
no. And, Kimbrel, I'm on board. I like to see the fountain of youth people. Whatever adjustments he made at the end of last year, they're sticking. He still looks good. I don't know how much longer it'll last before he gets out of sync, but the rest of their bullpen, I mean, Rex Brothers and Andrew Chafin are the best they got. It's not good.
Yeah, I agree.
You pretty much covered it. Contreras, they're tinkering with, and that's dangerous when you tinker with someone that's decent.
Mm-hmm.
Baez is a hacker. He's always been a hacker. And if you make the contact, it's good. And if you don't, it's really bad. And he stopped stealing. We don't know what he's going to do. And again, they got to hold on to contracts with these guys and decide who they want. So I'm expecting these guys to fall. Some places were picking them to win. And I'm like, I'm not seeing that.
No, I don't see that either. And I think they'll start selling off the Baez's and the Bryants. They've thought about it in the offseason this year. And I think as things start to go badly, that's where you're going to start seeing those guys move.
Yep.
The over-under here is 79.5. I've got them under that number.
I said it's probably about right. They might get lucky, but if it moves, it's going to be under, yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the Reds. This is an interesting team. To be their pitching, I like a lot. To be honest with you, Castillo, the Yankees were really talking about him during the offseason, but the Reds were smart to hold on to him. Sonny Gray, once he gets healthy, has kind of had a rebirth in Cincinnati. I like Mal. Miley's got some upside. Lorenzen is their fifth starter, but he's out for a bit. I like their bullpen. I like Amir Garrett and Lucas Sims a lot. Both were former starters, and they've really kind of found a little home, at least, in the early going and a little bit last year. And they got Sean Doolittle, who, if he's got anything left, can contribute in that bullpen. Offensively, though, I mean, Joey Votto is kind of on the downside, obviously. He's a nice player still, but he's on the downside. Muskakis, nice player, but, he's not going to carry a team. They got Suarez playing out of position at shortstop. Great offensive numbers. He'll give you some great offensive numbers, but he may make Gleyber Torres look like Luis Aparicio out there, to age myself or date myself. I like Nick Senzel, Jesse Winkler, Castellanos. I mean, they're young guys. You got to like their potential, but I'm not sure. This team's going to go as far as their pitching can carry them, in my mind. And the defense is going to be a little iffy, I think, all around the infield, except for maybe Votto.
Yep. Well, don't forget, Suarez started as a shortstop, actually.
I know, but there's a reason that he didn't continue as a shortstop.
I mean, the main reason they did that is because they had no one for second.
Yeah.
So they wanted to bring up the rookie India, Jonathan India. They brought him up. He's playing well. He's actually hitting better than he did in the minors. Once pitchers adjust, that could change rapidly. Moustakas is this guy still bombs. He still hits home runs. Okay fielder. He would look like a 3-TO, except his Ks aren't as high as most 3-TO guys. Winker, some power. Senzel, if he ever stayed healthy, would be a 2020 guy.
Yeah, health is a big issue there, right?
Castellanos always has the power. He's a bit of a hacker, though. Sonny Gray, by the way, is going to be back next week, supposedly. So that's a good thing. And Tyler Mao basically became Sonny Gray. So when you got three of them, that's pretty good.
No, it's a good front of rotation for sure.
I'm not a fan of the bullpen as much as you are. It's pretty much Garrett and Sims, and that's it. You got to get to those guys too. And the back end of your rotation, you need bodies, and I'm not thinking it's going to be good.
Good point.
I don't think their front office or their management it's not bad. It's not great.
I like David Bell. I think David Bell is going to grow into that job and be a pretty good big manager.
He might. Part of it is the hand you're dealt by management as players you got to deal with.
Of course.
They don't have a lot of prospects to come up, and that's an issue. So they need to work on that.
Well, I'm going to have them surprising a little bit. The over-under is 82.5. I got them going over since I have the Cardinals underperforming and the Cubs underperforming. I think somebody's got to overperform, and I think it's going to be the Reds are going to.
I actually have
sneak over 500 with 83.
I actually have them going below that only because it's the National League Central, and the other two divisions are going to beat the crap out of them.
Well, there is that. And we do have to talk, unfortunately, because it's a requirement. If you're going to cover Major League Baseball, you've got to cover all the teams. So
this won't take long.
We have to talk about the Pirates for a second. As little good as there is to talk about with the Pirates, the best thing the Pirates have going for him is Cabrian Hayes, who's a great prospect,
and is injured.
And he's injured. It's unfortunate that we've had a few injuries here early in the years to some of the better players, and there's just God. You look at again. There's just not major league talent at a lot of these positions. I mean, Dustin Fowler they bring in, whose best days are behind him. That's their big free agent signing, right? Adam Frazier's a nice player and can play around the field, but they've got him penciled in at second base. I don't think he's a very good defensive player. He just can contribute. Again, Adam Frazier is another guy on a good team. He'd be a very valuable piece.
Another Garrett Cooper, yeah.
Yeah. But with a team like this, he's going to stand out as not standing out because he can't play every day. Yeah. Colin Moran, they've given shots to in the past, and he never seizes the opportunity. The pitching staff is just a plethora of, not that there's not some talent in some of these young guys, and they're a plethora of no names, but yep. I just don't see this team really doing anything at all. So you can add whatever you want there, but
it's ugly. I feel bad for Hayes. He needs a supporting crew to really fly.
Yeah.
I think Brian Reynolds is better. I mean, he was one of those BABIP sufferers last year. 231 BABIP is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I expect him to get closer to his 300 with some power, a few stolen bases. He's a good player. Kevin Newman is a good shortstop. He's a good hitting shortstop.
Yeah, he's a good player.
These would not be starters on other teams, but they'd be really great bench guys.
Right. Which is why it's bad when you've got a team full of bench guys filling your lineup.
As their starters, correct. Colin Moran, he doesn't have the power. They thought he would. He's not developed it. Here's the one name I'll throw out just for fun. A Met cast-off, Phillip Evans. Plays all around the infield. Right now he's taking the place of Hayes because he's injured. And Evans is really taking it and running with it. Whether he means anything. Again, one of those bench players. The actual best thing this team has going for him is Ben Cherington and Derek Shelton. I think their GM and manager are good. They got nothing to work with, and they've got a hell of a road ahead of them to fix it.
They do, and the Pirates have done it before. I mean, they've been at the bottom and brought back, the years that Clint Hurdle was there. I mean, they had some good seasons, and then they just, the front office and the ownership just let the team down and the fans down, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. This is not We Are Family and Roberto Clemente Pirates.
Yeah. Well, this is very tough. I mean, the over-under here is 59.5, and I've actually got him going under that number, so it's going to be really bad news. And
I said it sounds about right, but really, who cares?
You're right, because they're going to get beat.
Once you're at 59 or 60, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're going to win about 10 games outside the division. So That's their problem.
Right.
National League East.
Oh boy.
Or I'm sorry, West.
West, yes.
Sorry. Going the wrong direction here.
Nope.
We'll start at the top with the defending champion Los Angeles Dodgers, and oh my gosh,
It's so unfair.
People used to talk about the Yankees acquiring talent this team is just loaded.
And spending money.
Team is absolutely loaded at starting pitching. The bullpen is loaded. The lineup, there's very few holes, I think. Maybe they're putting a little too much faith there. Do they need to have faith, I guess, in Lux, because he can be carried by the rest of the lineup if he struggles at all.
Right.
But Corey Seager in a contract year. Pollock, I love. Bellinger just got hurt. One of the best players in the National League, as we were talking about. And Betts, who might be the best player in the National League. So the only thing that can derail this team is themselves and injuries. Walker Buehler, by the way, is a nominal third starter, because they still list Clay Kershaw as their ace, but he's not, right? He's not the number one starter there. We all know that. I actually am picking Walker Buehler to come out of the back of the pack and win the Cy Young in the National League.
Really?
I love Walker Buehler.
One of the complaints about Buehler was he did not take fitness and preparation seriously last year, which is why he regressed so badly. And there was a question as to whether he'd get serious about it this year. Indications so far are he has not, but we'll see. It's ridiculous depth in pitching. I mean, they've got 5 relievers now on the injured list, and their bullpen is still better than most of the other teams in the major leagues.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Victor Gonzalez, watch that kid. Corey Nebel, great pickup. Coming back from TJ.
Yeah.
He'll probably end up being their closer.
I would not be surprised, yeah.
I don't have faith in Jansen holding out.
Well, he's going to get hurt at some point. But it's a good thing to have somebody to back him up, and it's not Joe Kelly, right?
Right. Who's injured. Along with Ferguson, Gonsolin, Gratterall. Don't forget they signed Tommy Conley for next year.
Yeah, and again, injuries are about the only thing that can derail this team, and they do have a few right now. But
and I'm not sure injuries could do it. They're so deep. I mean, they got Chris Taylor.
Right. Yeah, their bench is very good too. Yeah,
Chris Taylor's covering everything. Matt Beatty.
I love Chris Taylor. I really do. He's the type of guy that, again, we keep talking about. Winning teams needed a guy like Chris Taylor. And he's the guy like Adam Frazier we just talked about, except he's on a winning team and he's valuable in that sense.
He's also better than Adam Frazier.
Yeah.
He hits for power. He's defense. McKinstry is a great add in the outfield as backup. I mean, it's loaded. And they still have a bunch of guys in the minors. I mean, it's just, here's the beauty of it. They've got Andrew Friedman. And Andrew Friedman made his name with the Rays. And if you can really make a team like the Rays run, imagine what you can do when you have some money and resources.
Well, he was a young guy when he got the gig here with the Dodgers, right? I mean, just a baby.
I mean, the Rays are a GM factory because they have to, because they don't get any support where they are. So, signing him was genius, and he's made the switch over from austerity to riches. And this team is not going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, it's what it is. And
the over-under is really stiff here, 101.5. I'm going to go under only because of the competition they're going to get from the Padres. So I think I think both those teams are going to get up in the high 90s, maybe around 100. And who knows? I could be totally wrong, and they win the division with 104 wins, and the Padres lose it with 100. It's possible with the rest.
Definitely possible. I actually have them going higher than the 101. Not by a lot, obviously, but I have them actually beating that. Yeah. They're just that good.
Let's move on to the Padres. The stiffest competition they'll get. Again, of the teams that can compete with them in the division, only the Padres have a shot, obviously. For the National League, I was trying to read some of the comments as we go along here, but of the teams in the National League that can compete with them, and we'll talk more about it in a second. I mean, the Braves can compete with them. I give them a run. I'm sorry, have a chance to unseat them, let's say, and get to the World Series. There's only a handful of teams. The Padres are one. The Braves, obviously. The Brewers, as much as I love them, I don't think are going to get to the World Series. They'll fall to one of these teams in the playoffs. Yeah. But the Padres, I mean, tremendous offseason there. I mean, the guys they brought in, Joe Musgrave's your fourth starter. He pitches a no-hitter the other night, first in Padres history. Former Tri-City Valley Cat, by the way, I'll point out. And he's really a good pitcher. Again, was kind of lost on a bad Pittsburgh team. And I always like this kid's stuff. And he's the fourth starter there. Darvish, I think, will flourish here outside of playing Wrigley Field. I think playing in this ballpark will help him. Yep. Snell, we know, is a good pitcher. Lamet, how would you say that, Drew? Lamet would have a great year. And I like Chris Paddock, who's your fifth starter. I mean, grief, he's a really good pitcher. Now, the bullpen possibly could be an issue. I mean, Melanson's your closer right now, at least. Pomerantz has kind of turned his career around a little bit, or a lot, I guess. But if there's something that could derail this team a bit, it could be the bullpen. I like the lineup. Hosner's kind of on the way down at first base, but he could turn it around a little bit this year, I think. I like Cronenworth a lot. Machado is obviously a great player. Tatis, if he stays healthy, we know what he can do. And their outfield I like a lot. Tommy Pham, Trent Grisham. These are guys that aren't household names, but are really, really good Major League Baseball players and are in that part of their career where you normally take a step forward, right? Yeah. And Will Myers, I don't know. He probably never really reached his potential, but he's still a nice player when, him and Hosner are going to be the weak spots in your lineup. That's not too bad.
Not at all. First things first, Tingler was a great pick for manager.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on him. You get Tingler and Montoya and Rojas, and these guys all got a lot of pressure on them this year to perform. So the managers aren't without pressure. So
no. Now I'm not a big Preller fan. I don't like his ethos and his ethics. We know he pulled routines on people, trading injured players and not letting them know they were injured. That being said, after he came out of the doghouse, he's really upped his game. The work he's done with this team is unbelievable. And they still have a ton of guys. They could still call up Gore. They could still call up Weathers if they needed to in pitching. So they back up. You're worried about the bullpen, but Emilio Pagan is still good. Pomerantz and Melancon, as you mentioned. Keone Keela, who was great with the Pirates for a while, he's back healthy. They still got Greg Stamen, Ryan Weathers. And this doesn't count. Altavia, Jose Castilla, Javi Guerra, and Matt Strom are all injured. So those guys come back. It's going to help them quite a bit. Austin Nola is still injured. He's going to be coming back soon from his finger injury.
Yep.
Hosmer interesting. Hosmer and Myers both actually had good years last year, turned around, and are doing it again this year. $11 a beer. They got to pay these players somehow.
They do.
So actually, Hosmer and Myers are actually not what they've actually come back very nicely. Maybe the team's booing them. I don't know. But they're floating with the rest of the team. And Ha-Seong Kim was a great signing. I think he's going to fill in a lot in the infield. If there's injuries right now, he's for Tatis, he's going to be really good. He's going to be another Cronenworth.
I think Profar can do that. I think Profar can handle that as well.
Yeah,
now we're getting feedback.
And that doesn't even include Jerks and Profar as their bench guy, who's a great player. Yeah, it's Dodgers light is what it is.
It is Dodgers light, but it's a very, very good, very, very good team. And just so we can keep moving here because we're falling a little behind. But the Padres 94.5. I've got them going over that. I think the Dodgers and Padres, as I just said, are going to be right around that 100 win mark and be battling all season for this division.
Yep, I agree.
Let's move on, and I do have I do have the Dodgers winning and the Padres winning, getting the second wild card, or the first wild card probably. The Phillies would second. Let's move on to the Giants, who have kind of fallen on hard times. I think I think all you need one of the first things you got to start with the Giants. I mean, they're off to a decent start, but the fact that Gabe Kapler is their manager is an issue to start with. I mean, he did not do anything when he was in Philadelphia. I saw nothing there to warrant him getting another opportunity, especially right away, because he was just so unorthodox. He was so unliked by the players, by the fans, by everybody, basically.
And especially being hired by Farhan Zaidi, who should know better coming from the Dodgers.
Yeah, you would think, right? But again, here's another team with Kevin Gausman, who's a nice pitcher, but when he's your number one, and Johnny Cueto, whose best days are behind him, or your second starter, things are not going to go well, I don't think. Jake McGee's your closer. Gosh, I just don't see anything to like. Buster Posey, his best days are behind him, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon Belt's a nice player, but again, he's not a guy who's going to carry your team, and he doesn't stay healthy as a rule either.
Right.
Evan Logoria's, again, you got a whole team of guys whose best days are behind them. Longoria, Crawford, Dickerson's a young guy, and the outfield's all kind of young, actually. Yastrzemski's got some potential, but you know what? This was not a highly rated prospect, and it does not mean that less highly rated prospects don't become superstars.
Right.
And he really overperformed his projections, and he's a great story. I hope he keeps going. I mean, the league's better with a Yastrzemski in it, even though I'm a Yankee fan. And he's there. That's a Long Island family, right? So you gotta be kind of root for them a little bit. So I just don't think I don't think this team can compete.
No, they can't, and not in a division with Dodgers and Padres.
No.
They do seem to work miracles with pitchers. Pitchers go there that are supposedly washed up and all of a sudden look decent.
Well, the ballpark helps there, I think, too, for that.
Although they changed the dimensions a little bit.
This year, have they?
Yeah. And they got Logan Webb. Aaron Sanchez went there. Alex Wood, if he ever gets off the injured list, might do something. So the starting pitching might be decent. The bullpen is scary as hell. Although Jake McGee is a great story as a closer. I think getting out of Colorado was the best thing for him.
And it could help it won't hurt his career to get out of that stadium. But
no, he's pitching well. I'll give him that. Whether it lasts, I don't know.
Yeah.
Donovan Solano, all of a sudden he's a batting title. I don't know. He's a hacker to boot. So how that happens, I don't know. But yeah, Yastrzemski, Slater is one of those bench guys we keep talking about that if you had him on a good team would really help. It's got some speed, can field.
Yeah.
But Farhan Zaidi definitely has his work cut out for him to rebuild this team. They got a bunch of contracts coming off the books soon.
Well, they do need to kind of start from scratch here. And they're getting there. I mean, Lagoria's got to go, and Crawford they were almost dealt this year to the Yankees, and
Posey dealt. Yeah. Crawford's in his last year, I think. So yeah, they're going to have a lot of holes to fill, and some fluidity financially. So that'll be a good thing. But yeah, this is not pretty.
Well, the over-under here is 75.5, and given what I've said everybody else will do in this division, I've got to go under 75.5.
I'm going slightly over.
A little over for
Not
Drew.
I'm saying like 76, 77, but someone's got to finish third.
Let's move on to the Diamondbacks because we do have to finish out this division, unfortunately. Again, question marks. Zach Gallen hurt. Madison Bumgarner they brought in has been, he's in the middle of their rotation.
Ugh.
Questions all over the pitching staff, starting and in the bullpen. A couple of decent players on the offense. I mean, I really like Marte. Peralta's a nice player. Ahmed has never really turned the corner, I don't think, for them. And then you got and Kristen Walker's a nice player as well. But again, I just don't see enough Major League Baseball talent for this team to really rise above mediocre at best.
Yeah, there's no difference makers. The pitching is risky or unproven. The injuries are hurting them, pun intended. Their two best relievers, Soria and Clippard, are injured.
Yeah.
Their best pitcher, Zach Gallen, is injured. Bumgarner, that was a ridiculous signing. I don't know why they didn't know that he was toast already. The rest of the guys are junkers.
By the way, just saying Clippard is one of your best bullpen guys is already a.
I understand, but he still is. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. They do have probably the fastest guy in baseball in Tim LeCastro on the team. What he does with it, who the hell knows? But
well, Herb Washington was the fastest guy in baseball once too. Remember?
Yep, yeah, but he couldn't field though.
They didn't even give him a glove.
Smart.
So this team is 74.5. I've got them going under that number.
I do as well.
And as with the Pirates in the Central, we're obligated to talk about the Rockies, unfortunately. If Bud Black is, and I feel bad for Bud Black because I think he's a good Major League manager, and this team is just horribly mismanaged. And the front office.
Yes.
Again, pitching is always going to be an issue in Colorado, and they really don't have anybody that stands out. Marquise is all right. Freeland, okay. And they may be decent pitchers elsewhere, but they're not going to be in Colorado.
No.
The bullpen, Daniel Bard, your closer.
Great story, though.
Yeah. No. Yeah, very good story for sure. He was a knuckleball catcher, wasn't he, at one point? I think
Yeah.
Yeah. And the offense, gosh, I mean, Charlie Blackmon's on his way down. Great player, but he's never going to repeat the numbers he's had, a few years back. Tapia, they've given so many, or I'm probably saying his name wrong, by the way, but
no, that's right.
They've given him chance after chance. Trevor Story, probably their best defensive, best player all around left with Arenado gone. Is probably not going to be long for town either. I like Brandon Rogers a lot, but he's hurt a lot. And Ryan McMahon is another guy that I loved when he was coming up, but he's never gotten over the hump.
No.
And again, there's just not much for me to say about this team.
No, McMahon's a hacker, and that's his problem. If he took a walk and waited for his pitch, he'd be a lot better. The thing that's wrong with this team is Jeff Bridich. He, as a GM, the moves he's made, the signings, the Desmonds, and all these, it's the $1 million bullpen that he signed that stunk. He's not giving Bud Black anything to work with, and these guys are on the way down. And their prospects, all their best prospects are up already. So the rebuilding, start by getting rid of Bridich, and maybe they'll have a hope.
Well. Again, a low number here. Not as bad as the Pirates, 64.5. I think they could be as bad as the Pirates, especially once if they trade Story away.
Yep.
This team is just going to be under that number, I think.
Yeah, I said it's about right, but who really cares? We differ on our playoff teams. I think the Mets will be the wild card, but I picked the Dodgers to win the whole thing.
I think we agreed on all our division winners: Braves, Brewers, and Dodgers. Yep. You had the Padres and the Mets as wild cards. I've got the Padres and Phillies. I'm going to say the Braves win the National League pennant.
Good.
Let's move on to the American League. Boy, we put a lot of effort into the National League. We should have had a 2-part show today.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. We'll start with the Yankees. Obviously, I've talked ad nauseum about the Yankees on all my shows and a lot of my vlogs and about the problems. But again, I'm a big Yankee fan. I think this team is very good. good. They'll make them to that. They'll probably win the division, but they're poorly constructed as far as being able to go all the way. And I think it's going to, all these things that I've talked about are going to hurt them come playoff time. If the rotation stays healthy, it's really good. It's pitched really well so far, other than maybe Herman, who I'm not crazy about being on the staff to begin with. But as you mentioned earlier in the show, Severino will be back around midseason. I mean, yes, it takes some guys to get time to get acclimated, so it depends on when he comes on. But, that's like trading for a first or second starter in the middle of the season if he comes back and can stay healthy. Yeah. So that's a big deal. The bullpen, I think, is very good. Has had its issues here early on in the season, but I still think it's very good. Chad Green is a guy you can use in a lot of different situations in a game, and I think the Yankees really make good use of him. Chapman is always going to be good and bad. I mean, he's going to give up home runs in horrible spots. It's just going to happen. But then the problems with the lineup, look, they're going to score runs, but they got to find a way to keep Aaron Judge healthy. They're stuck with Stanton, so they got to find a way to keep him healthy. And it's amazing to me that we got to rest guys after 3 games of DHing. Clint Frazier had some struggles here recently, but he started off the season well. Recently, he's done much worse, but I think he's ready to really break out this year. Hicks stays healthy. I like him. Good defensive player. Shouldn't be hitting third, though. Urshela is a tremendous defensive player at third base. I love DJ. You can play him everywhere. Torres, love his offense, but I think playing shortstop is hurting his offense, to be honest with you. And then Voit, had a great year last year, but he's another guy who has trouble staying healthy. I don't have a problem, as I've said, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, getting Voit out of here, moving DJ to first base, moving Torres back to second base, and get a shortstop in here. I don't even care if he's just a guy who can make the routine plays. I don't care if that's all it is. If it's Trevor Story, great. But if it's just a guy who can make the plays, that's all I want. Yeah. You cannot throw away routine plays like Torres has and did the other night. And Yankee fans keep telling me, well, give him a chance. Give him a chance. I've given him a chance. I've watched him play. I mean, the eye test tells me he can't play shortstop.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
It doesn't mean he's not a great talent. And I
agree with you. I think his fielding is affecting his hitting, no question.
Yeah. And the problem with his hitting now is we thought we were getting a 20-25 home run guy who's going to hit 310, and we got a 35-40 home run guy who's going to hit 250.
Right.
Which, again, is another problem with the game in general, but we won't go into all of that. So everybody knows where I stay. I think this team will find a way to win the division. They'll falter in the playoffs again.
Yeah. The problem with Green is he's hittable. I mean, his peripherals are nice, but he gives up home runs. He pitches to contact. Some do actually, Rick.
Yeah, they do. They don't. The problem is the way they condition the legs. They all condition the upper body so we can hit home runs.
Yeah,
condition the legs to take you through a 162 game season.
And there's the Yankee issue. They don't play situational baseball. They go for the long ball. Stanton's the poster child of 3-TO. Losing Britton was a big hit. It puts people in the bullpen into places they shouldn't be, and I think that's an issue. Although I love bringing up these names. Lucas Ludic was a nice pickup.
You know what? Yes, they miss Zach Britton right now, but Ludic, I like him, and he fills the same kind of role as Britton, and they can both be useful during the course of a year.
Yep. I think you'll see Devi Garcia come up. I think they're going to need him eventually.
I agree.
And I like Cashman and Boone within their sphere, but I think they're a little too reliant on metrics and don't give guys shots that they should, and they get very anchored into a way of thinking that before they make the change, it's too late. So, I like the team. They're going to get in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make it. I actually do not have them winning the division.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming maybe I won't assume who it is. We'll continue the conversation. Couple of things. Jay Bruce, bad fit for this team.
Oh, God.
Odor, he better play well or his name's going to be very unfortunate in the back pages of the New York Post.
Yeah.
But I do think he could be a contributor. The guy's not that far removed from 30 home run seasons.
He's a 3-TO that steals.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, you know what? I'd rather have him than Jay Bruce in that left-handed guy off the bench.
It's a low bar.
Well, it is. I'm certainly not saying it isn't a low bar. And I like Mike Tauchman too. I'm glad they looked like they were going to have to make a decision between Tauchman and Bruce, and that got taken away from them due to injury, but to Voit. But I like Tauchman. I think Tauchman last year I'll throw out. I mean, he had a really, really good year 2 years ago with the Yankees. He was a very, very valuable member of that team. He plays really good defense at all three outfield positions. He can put the ball in the play, and he's got a little pop when he's right.
He can steal too.
He's again on a good team. This is a nice player.
Yep, and he steals. So
he can steal a base. He can steal a base.
Nice all around player.
So
what do you think? Can they do 95?
95.5. I'm going over.
Okay, I'm actually going under.
All right. Cover everything. Yeah, guys, I'm not trying to short sell or go too quick on the Yankees, but there's plenty of I talk about the Yankees plenty, and I don't want to bore you guys with the same stuff over and over again. They'll win the division and lose in the playoffs. Let's move on to the Toronto Blue Jays. Made a lot of moves in the offseason. Montoya, another guy under, he's a good manager. I think a really good manager, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on him this year to perform. They already lost their closer, Kirby Yates, they signed, which is a big loss to that team. The rotation, it could be very good. It could be a disaster, to be honest with you. Robbie Ray's already hit. Yeah, Rod, good point. Like a lot of teams, right? We've said the same thing, except for a handful of teams who are deep. If guys stay healthy, they'll be great. I mean, Robbie Ray's already hurt, who I think has a lot of potential and will do better outside of Arizona. I like Rayo myself a lot. Matz, change of scenery, can't help but help him.
Yeah.
And Ross Stripling's a guy that, again, was part of that Dodge forum.
Yep.
Bullpen's a question, though. Bullpen's a question. The lineup, while it's young, at a lot of positions with Biggio and Bichette and Vlad Jr., I think they'd made a great addition with Simeon. Springer, I think once he gets healthy, he didn't get off to a great start either, but I think he'll be fine. He's, at least for the first couple of years of that contract, he'll be fine. Gurriel, I think, is a nice player. Hernandez, I think, is a nice player. I just think there's enough here between there's some veterans and some kids. It's a nice mix of players, but I think there's just too many question marks in the bullpen and in the starting pitching to really for them to win this division.
Okay, I actually have them pulling ahead of the Yankees, not by much, but I have them actually winning the division. They're young. They have great defense. Huge potential, positional flexibility. They got guys that can move all over the field, which someone gets injured, that's a good thing. Also, they're less prone to injury. They got power. They got speed. A couple of them are some hackers. Gurriel's a bit of a hacker. But they got some guys that just, it's Robbie Ray's going to come back. Nate Pearson's going to come back. If they can work a miracle with Matz, maybe he'll be decent. I don't know. I mean, when you could put Randall Grichuk on the bench when Springer comes back, that's pretty good.
Yeah, agreed. They had Joe Panic on the bench too. He's a nice player in a backup position.
Yeah, I mean, their closer essentially is going to be either Jordan Romano or Julian Merriweather. Merriweather is actually a starter in waiting, but they've pushed him into that. So those are going to be – David Phelps was a nice pickup. If he's healthy, he's a good pitcher.
Yeah, I agree. And he's kind of like Chad Green. He can fill a lot of roles in the bullpen, I think.
Exactly.
I agree. And Montoya is a great manager. Another thing, though, Drew, that's going to hurt this team, I think, is the fact that they don't have a home field to play on because they can't go back to Toronto. Where are they playing? I don't even know where they're playing. They're not playing.
They actually started at their spring training facility in Dunedin.
Yeah.
They will be moving. They're making a bunch of improvements to the field in Buffalo, and they're going to move back to Buffalo when the field is ready. I think they'll compensate. They played well there anyway. And I think this is the year that Vlad breaks out. I mean, he lost like 40 pounds. He's serious this time, and it's already showing. I actually think this team in its youth is going to make the move.
I love their infield. I mean, this is an infield that could play together for 15 years. I mean, It could be the Dodgers from the 70s infield, right? I mean, it's really. I mean, obviously teams don't keep guys together that long anymore. But in theory, you've got a shortstop or an infield that will keep you going for 15 years here.
Yep. Good team.
Over under 86.5. I have the Blue Jays because of the things I mentioned about their pitching staff, the fact that they can't play at home. I have them going under that number.
I have them getting way over that number. Way over that number.
All right. Let's move on to the Rays. The Rays did their normal house cleaning this year. It's amazing to me. This team every year. And by the way, I can't start with the Rays without starting with the fact that, look at this team had a chance to beat the Dodgers in a World Series last year. And if anybody has any questions about who runs the games, whether it's the managers or the front office, all you had to do was watch Kevin Cash take Blake Snell out of that game and cost them any chance, in my mind, of winning that World Series. If they win that game, there's every chance. They have a much better chance, obviously, of winning the World Series.
Right.
I think they could have beaten the Giants the Dodgers. And it's the epitome of the way the game is managed today. It's ridiculous. We don't watch what's going on the field. This guy's dominant, but I got this guy that comes in this spot all the time. And it's not just that move right there, but it doesn't matter. You got a 6-inning guy, you got a 7-inning guy, you got an 8th-inning guy, and that's all they do. It doesn't matter that they struck out the side in the 8th inning. I can't bring him in, or the 7th inning. Can't bring him in the 8th inning because I got a guy that has that job. Well, it's just stupid. How is it smart? I mean, it goes against everything that makes sense to pull a guy who's doing well. But that's the way the game.
Actually, it wasn't due to them having a 7th, 8th inning guy because Cash actually moved his relievers around.
I just use that as my segue into that
It's
part.
a pitching philosophy that sometimes works and a lot of times doesn't.
Yeah, because we don't want the guys who pay the most money in a pitching staff to pitch the most important part of the game. So why would we want that?
Well,
Gosh, sorry, I knew I was going to go off when I got to this Kevin Cash thing, and I don't blame Kevin Cash because you're right. It's a philosophy that the organization pushes forward, and he's either going to do it or he's going to lose his job anyway. So, but they don't let the managers manage in a lot of spots, and I hate that. I hate it.
Yep.
Somebody's got to have the guts. I said this to Kevin Kernan. I'm getting off topic here. I said this to Kevin Kernan a couple of weeks ago. Somebody's got to have the guts to hire a Billy Martin to change the whole dynamic in baseball. The whole thing with his shifts and not hitting the other way and manage it by the seat of your pants and just gut feel and watching the game and managing as the game goes on.
Yeah.
The management, the game's managed before the game ever starts. The entire game is managed.
Pretty much.
Before the game ever starts. Sorry about that. I get on these little tirades. Let's go on to Tampa Bay. Oh gosh. So again, a lot of new faces. I do like their staff. If Archer, he got hurt yesterday, but
He just got hurt.
Yeah, he
was pitching well though.
He was, and I've always liked his game, and he's pitched well when he pitched with Tampa in the past. I like Tyler Glasnow a lot. Michael Wacha's a respectable pitcher. A bullpen, they always find a way to put a bullpen together. I don't know how.
Well, they're going to be tested now.
They are. And, offensively, it's a lot of kids. Adames is a really nice player. He's a great player, really. Meadows has had a bad year last year, but a lot of talent. I expect him to bounce back. I think he's off to a pretty good start this year. Kiermaier's a nice player. Brandon Lowe's a nice player in the infield. But I do not think, and Randy Rosarina, I think, is going to be the rookie of the year in the American League this year. He's got a lot of talent. I don't think he was just a flash in the pan through the playoffs last year. Kid's got some talent. It's obvious. Had a nice game against the Yankees yesterday, and I think he'll be the rookie year in the American League. But I think that the Rays are not going to challenge for the top spot in the division this year.
No. And you got to understand, because of not having any money, these guys are probably the strongest team when it comes to a philosophy, how they feel they need to work in order to make things work within their market. The Pirates could learn a lesson here. All their GMs go on to other teams and make it great because they know what they're doing. It would go to Buffalo, which is great.
Yeah, it would go to Buffalo, right? Eventually, yes, Dave, it would end up in Toronto eventually.
Eventually.
The border needs to open for that to happen. Yeah.
Correct, and that's not happening. Starting pitching could be good. They're built so that their relievers take over. They don't like them going 2 rotations through. That's their philosophy. I like Kevin Cash as a manager. I think he gets a little too rigid with his philosophy sometimes. Their relief corps is hurting right now. They've got 7 relievers on the IL. Fairbanks just went down. So they got Nick Anderson, Chaz Rowe, Yanni Chirinos, Jalen Beeks. All of these guys are injured. So they're going to be tested. Brian Thompson's going to move up, I guess, to back up Diego Castillo. It's not great.
Yeah.
Their focus is defense and fielding and pitching. Still got a farm system. They now have Eric Neander doing the GMing, and he's been brought up right. So they'll be competitive. They're not going to challenge. No. They got some work to do.
I mean, other than the way they manage your pitching staff, I kind of like the way they kind of play the game. So the over-under is 85.5. I've got them under that number.
I've got them actually 2 over that.
Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I have them over that number because I had the blue.
I got a couple over.
Yeah. It's funny, and I want to, before we go on to the next team here, we're got to move along a little bit, but it's funny, and I'm going to have to disagree with Dave Guyette a little bit here. He goes, well, I was talking about Billy Martin. He says an Earl Weaver type of manager. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that because Earl's kind of philosophy was a little bit like we played a game today. It was, he didn't bunt, he didn't hit and run. He waited for 3-run home runs. He had great pitching and defense, yes.
That he overworked.
But as far as his management of the games, he was not a Billy Martin type manager by any means. He'd sit back and wait for 3-run home runs. He says his philosophy against a bunt is, why would I give up an out ever?
Yep.
So anyway, I never did change our banner here. So we are moving on to the Orioles.
Oh, what about the Red Sox?
I'll leave them for last.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
For a good reason, but
well, we'll get to them quickly then.
Yes, we will. So the Orioles, again, the Orioles are the Orioles, I guess. This team is. I mean, they're probably rebuilding maybe the right way. I don't know, but they seem to be rebuilding forever. The worst thing they did was fire Buck Showalter, in my mind, but. The team wasn't going to win no matter who the manager was. Again, the best story here is Trey Mancini coming back. I think he'll be the comeback player of the year in the American League. Just a great story.
Yep.
Coming back from his travails. But elsewhere, I don't see a lot of major league players. Again, Matt Harvey is your number 2 pitcher. It's about all you got to say. I mean, if you see something I don't see, Mikhail Franco is your third baseman, never made it with the Phillies. Freddie Galvis, who, again, another guy who seems like he ought to be about 50 years old. He's your shortstop. I just don't see. I will say Cedric Mullins looks like he might be a player. I like his potential, and I think he could surprise some people this year. But other than that, I don't see a lot of positive stuff to look at here with the Orioles.
No, it's not good. And to bring up Matt Harvey, he was one of the first people really to deal with the thoracic outlet surgery.
Yeah, good point.
And from everything that I'm seeing, that the results of that are way worse than TJ. It seems whoever has that, if they come back at all, it takes them a long time. And that's something to keep in mind because this seems to become a big surgery now, and I'm not liking it. As far as the GM, Mike Elias, he's focusing on the international market. He's big on metrics, but you would think that it would show more results than it has. Austin Hayes, their outfield is their strength. Austin Hayes, Anthony Santander, Cedric Mullins, those are decent players. Everyone's waiting for Adley Rutschman to come up. A catcher is not going to save your team. I don't care how good he is.
Yep.
And he's not going to probably come up this year anyway. If he is, it's not too late. So, yeah, this team, I won't even go into the pitching. It's not worth it. I think the best thing they picked up was Adam Plutko from Cleveland.
Yeah. But there's not much to talk about there. I've got the 64.5. I've got them under that number.
I do the same.
Now we bring the Red Sox up. I wish
boy.
we had more time to spend on the Red Sox, but we got two divisions to get through here, and we can go a little over the top of the hour, but not too much. Okay. The Red Sox. Look at Red Sox fans might think that this opinion will be biased because I'm a Yankee fan. I think the Red Sox are the only good thing they did was probably bringing back Cora as their manager. Nathan Eovaldi's your opening day starter. Bad news, right?
Yep.
They will get maybe Sale back during the course of the year, but Garrett Richards was their big signing. Eduardo Rodriguez. I look at the offense. I don't understand, to be honest with you, how they got rid of Bradley and they got rid of, who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Yeah, Benintendi. Thank you. I mean, they got some good parts. If Bogaerts comes back, if Devers comes back, they had down years last year. But again, when we got to throw last year out a little bit. Verdugo's probably a nice player. Hunter Renfroe, maybe. JD Martinez could be comeback player of the year candidate. If those guys all turn their games around, I could see the Red Sox not finishing last in the division. If they don't, they're going to battle the Orioles for the basement, in my mind.
I don't think they're going to be quite that bad. They do have decent hitting. I mean, obviously, Bogart's got Devers. He still can't field, but at least he can hit. Verdugo is one of those 300 hitters, 20-25. He's going to be a basic guy, basic plugger, which you need those guys.
He's another Dodger guy who couldn't find a job there, right?
Yeah. The Enrique Hernandez and Marwin Gonzalez, they're essentially twins of each other. I mean, they're versatile players that don't add a lot. Bobby Dahlbeck's supposed to be adding a lot of power, but he strikes out a lot. He could be a 3-TO. It's not good. Now, the best thing they got going for him, and actually I'm not as big a Cora fan since he was the ringleader of that whole thing in Houston. So I'm not a big Cora fan in that regard. Great manager, but I just didn't like his ethics where that was concerned.
That's certainly.
But the biggest thing they did was actually get Chaim Bloom from the Rays. And here we are with the Rays doing their GM factory again. We got Friedman in LA, and now you got Bloom in the Red Sox. These guys know how to construct teams. They've done it. If you give them resources, they can do it even better, as Friedman has shown. I think the Red Sox are going to come back well. I think it's going to take them about 2-3 years.
I agree. The over-under there is 80.5. I've got them under 80.5.
I have the same.
And we'll go back here real quick. Carlos talked about them saving money. I agree. They're probably looking to spend a lot. He had mentioned earlier when we were talking about the Latin American market. I don't know. It's not the structure of I don't think the Latin American market being the wrong place to go. That's where the talent is in the Latin American market. But it's the way, again, just like if you're managing any market or farm system or whatnot. It's the way you're going about bringing those guys in and evaluating them. And that's how I see I think we were talking about the Orioles mismanaging that market.
Yep.
Latin America is where the players are. I mean,
it's a religion down there. It's, football has taken over in the U.S., so you go where the supply is, and it's the Caribbean.
Absolutely. And it's good, it's there's some great baseball players playing in Latin America, obviously. So that's it. I've got the Yankees winning the division. No wild card team there.
Okay. I got Toronto winning it with the Yankees as a wild card.
All right. So we got to get through the Central and the West fairly quickly, but we'll start with the Twins, the Twinkies. I think it's a really good team. I think it's really well managed. A young manager in Rocco Baldelli, I think, is doing a great job there. I think the front office has done a really good job of mixing in their own people, their own kids, and some veterans like Nelson Cruz, obviously, who just wakes up and hits 40 home runs. He's got to be getting close to 40 years old. He he can't play anywhere. So, he didn't sign till late because he was hoping the National League was going to have the DH and he'd have a little better market, right? Make some more money. Yeah. But I just think they've got some really good kids throughout this lineup. I love Barrios in the rotation. I think he's a star waiting to happen. Medea, a nice pickup. Pineda, who knows? He's a $1 million talent and a 10-cent head that guy's got. But if he puts it together, who knows? And they got the epitome of the innings eater, which I never understood the whole term, because if he's giving you bad innings, I don't know why you want him. AJ Happ. Yep. And Schumacher's got some upside, but some really good players throughout the lineup. Sano, he's had some issues off the field, but if he comes back, he can be a productive player. I like Polanco. Donaldson is a nice add to the team if he stays healthy. Simmons was a nice pickup for them at shortstop. The Yankees should have been all over him. You talk about a guy who can make the plays.
Yep.
He's a guy. Plus, he's got a little pop in his bat. Buxton and Capier are nice players too in the outfield. So you can make your comments there.
Yeah, the starting pitching is, on paper, it's good. Barrios, his big issue has been he's a half-time pitcher.
Yeah.
He's great in the first half, and then he tires out and gets bombed in the second half. If he can fix that, the problem with the rear of it is that they're only going to be 5-inning guys. So your bullpen better be good. I don't agree. The Alex Colomé signing was okay. I don't agree that he should be the closer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was a closer. Rogers was good. I know what the philosophy was. I know what Baldelli's doing. He wanted to keep Rogers for high leverage situations.
Yeah.
I think it's backfiring. I think he needs to put Rogers back into the closer position.
Well, you know what, though? It's not a bad – that's what they do with the Brewers, to backtrack a little bit with Hader. He doesn't just pitch, come in to start the ninth inning. He pitches where he needs to be where they
changed that. Yeah, now he's ninth inning or maybe eighth and ninth.
Yeah, I still like the way they I think if you got a guy in a bullpen who's a shutdown guy, he needs to pitch where the game's on the line. I don't care if it's a sixth inning.
And that's what they're doing with Rogers. But I think it's hurting him because Colomé is not the closer that Rogers is.
Well, again, it doesn't mean the Rogers thing isn't working. It means the Colomé thing's not working.
Right, they don't have a backup. Buxton, he's what I call a six-tool player. He's got the 5 tools in the injury list. If this guy was ever healthy, he would be the MVP of the league. But he's never healthy.
Agreed.
Everyone's waiting on Alex Kirilloff as their big rookie. I actually think the other rookie, Brent Rooker, is better, and he's on the injured list right now. And Sano's a 3-TO, so I'm not thrilled with Sano.
Well, the over-under here is 88. I'm going over. I like the Twins a lot. I'm
going slightly over, but I do not have them winning the division.
I do actually have them winning.
I know.
Chicago White Sox. who is the popular pick, not just in the division, but in some circles in the entire American League.
Yep.
Tough loss with Jimenez getting hurt. Obviously, a very polarizing pick in their manager this year, and Tony La Russa. So they're a win now team, right? I mean, they're not looking to build. I think they've got some really good pitchers, starting pitchers. I think they got a really good staff. They got a good bullpen. Hendricks was a nice pick up there, I think, from the A's. Grandal's a nice catcher. They've even with Jimenez out, their lineup is like lights out. Grandal, Abreu, Moncada, Anderson, Vaughn, Roberts, Eaton. These guys are all, and I didn't bring up Mercedes, who set a record to start the season, right?
Yep.
And again, I just think it's a team that's built to win right now, but I don't think they're going to have enough they have enough. I just think there's enough question marks. La Russa's and the team's relationship with La Russa is going to be a delicate balance this year. And that type of thing, he's had issues in the past with some of these guys. We were talking about the Latin market and Latin American market and the Latino player. And La Russa's had some problems with some of those guys and the way they play the game. And he says, I can adapt. But, La Russa's also kind of the father of the way the game's played today, in my mind. And especially the way the pitching staffs are managed. And
yeah,
I'm not crazy about it, as you know, but I think it's got as much a chance of being a big failure as it does being a big success. So
okay, I think they got great balance. Their fielding's a little uneven. They need a batting coach that can teach these guys how to take a walk.
Yeah,
if they had some plate discipline, they'd be really dangerous. Luis Robert's a hacker. Nick Madrigal's a hacker, although it works for him. Moncada's a hacker. I mean, they're all hackers, except for Abreu. That being said, the starting staff is solid. Lance Lynn was a great pickup.
I like that. Yeah, nice pickup. Yes. Everywhere except the Yankees.
Yep. I'm not a Keuchel fan, but he still keeps working, so whatever.
Yeah.
I actually think these guys have the best bullpen in baseball.
I wouldn't disagree.
Hendricks, Marshall, Crochet, Bummer, Hoyer. I mean, Kopech. They got Kopech coming back from injury in the bullpen. I mean, wow. It's just great stuff. Rick Hahn is a smart GM. I don't think La Russa was his pick. If things start to go south, I think Hahn may have something to say. So I'm hoping that's in place. Andrew Vaughn is a great prospect. And Yerman Mercedes, everyone's like flash in the pan. But in point of fact, his minor league pedigree says he's a 300 hitter with a good eye and some power.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a 30-homer guy, but a 20-25. He's actually got speed, too. He doesn't steal well, but he's got speed. So he's not a flash in the pan. He's a real guy. And actually a catcher officially.
Yeah. Again, loads of talent. I don't disagree in any way. I think La Russa's a wild card here. And I do have Chicago winning a wild card in the American League. 91.5 is the over-under. I've got them over.
I got them over. I have the loss of Jimenez is big, but it's not fatal, and I've got them winning the division.
Excellent. And one of the reasons I have both the Twins and the Chicago over is because I think the rest of the division is not going to be very good.
It's not.
We're going to get through these teams pretty quick here. The Indians, Terry Franco, and this could be his last year. I think myself between the struggles this team's going to have. I think,
and his health issues.
I do have one disclaimer. Plus, he got health issues, right? And they do still have Shane Bieber, who's a great pitcher. But after that, I think their pitching is a disaster waiting to happen. As far as position players, they made in the trade they made for Lindor. They trade for 2 shortstops, and they're trying to make an outfielder out of one of them. Always a bad idea. The one guy in the lineup I love and will be, I think, an MVP candidate, if you can do it on a bad team still, is Jose Ramirez, who I think is a tremendous player.
Yeah.
Good defensive player. He goes to all fields. He's got really good power. He's just and he steals a bit too. So he's a 5-tool guy in my mind, and it's going to be a matter of maybe they can do better if they figure out a way to get Rosario in the lineup and Jimenez at the same time. I don't know. I just think the trade they made was not a good one for them, and I don't see this team competing in this division at all.
It was financial. We know it was. They knew they couldn't sign Lindor. They got what they could get because everyone knows that they were going to have to get rid of him. Yeah. I disagree with you on the pitching. I think their starting staff is actually very strong, and it always has been. Bieber, Plesac, Savali, Allen, Logan Allen. They got Tristan McKenzie as their new rookie guy.
Yeah.
And their relief staff, they got Karinchak. They got Class A, a nice one too. I think their pitching is decent. I don't think they have any hitting to support it.
Yeah.
It's basically pitching and fielding.
Yeah, and you do need to score runs, even though,
That's a problem. You got to win a lot of 2-1 games. Chernoff is a great GM, but you got what you have to work with, and there's no money. So, yeah. I got them going slightly higher than the 81, though.
And I've got them under. Let's move on to the Royals. I think the Royals are doing some nice things, but they're not ready to compete. I think they will compete here in a few years, maybe next year. I don't know, but I think they're doing some nice things, putting a team together. But they're just, again, they've got some nice players in Whit Merrifield, who, to be honest with you, I don't think he should be an everyday player. He's another one of those guys, like Taylor we talked about with the Dodgers and whatnot. Merrifield's maybe more talented than him, even though I think Merrifield's really good, I think. But he's better on a better team, as we've talked about a couple of different times. They're taking a shot with Michael A. Taylor, failed with the Nationals in the outfield. I think and Carlos Santana at first base. I think they're waiting for some of these farm system guys to come through, and that's the way they built this team that way once when they won a World Series in 2015. And I'll tell you what, that's the last team I saw play the game the way it ought to be played. I love that team. They great pitching staff. They played great defense, timely hitting. They hit the all fields, and I believe they're trying to build a team the same way. And it's just it's hard to do today. It's very hard to do. It's hard for them to do. They went to 2 straight World Series, and I'm still shocked they did it. But they showed that it can be done, and I hope that's the way they're going again. That's all I got to say about the
Yeah, it is. I mean, the bullpen is decent. They got a bunch of good guys there. This team is always on fielding and speed. They have trouble taking a walk. Starts with Salvador Perez, Hacker, who's made it work, and Merrifield makes it work. Nicky Lopez makes it work.
Yeah.
Michael Taylor so far is making it work, but it catches up to these guys. But it's all fielding and speed. They got a kid, Kyle Isbell. He's good. This is where Benintendi ended up. I think you'll see Daniel Lynch up. Everyone's screaming for Bobby Witt to show up. He's only 20. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And Dayton Moore's a good GM, but you got to work with what you got.
Yeah. Bobby Witt's going to be a nice player, but you're right. He's a year away at least. So, again, I think they're doing it the right way, but it's just not that time. They haven't marinated yet. So, they're over under with 72.5. I do have them going a bit over that number, though.
I do the same thing. I got them at 74.
Yeah. And the Tigers are still nowhere in my mind. Miguel Cabrera, great player, but, he's obviously a shell of himself. There's some kids that can play the game a little bit, in Badu and, Castro, maybe the shortstop. I don't see much. Again, Jose Urena, who was a decent pitcher for the Marlins, is about, it seems like 10 years ago, but it wasn't that long ago. Casey Mize has got some talent. Scubo's got some talent, but I don't know if they're ready to step forward for a winning major league team. And then you got some retreads like Ramos and Shoop. Again, I just don't see this team being able to
No.
compete at all yet. Not yet.
They're relying on their starting pitching. It's Scooble, it's Mize, it's Manning. They're going to have growing pains anyway. They're not going to just show up on scene and be great. So it's going to take some time. They're still hampered by the Cabrera contract.
Yep.
And I think they're hampered by their GM. I don't think Al Avila is good.
No, I don't either. I mean,
I think Hinch was a great pickup, but you got to have something to work with.
Yeah, I like Hinch as well. And although, as I think it was Dave Guyette said earlier, he's lost all respect for the Astros. Hinch can't claim he didn't know anything was going on. He's got to stop doing that. I mean, I'm not saying he would put it together and was involved like Cora. Cora's the guy. He was the guy, but you can't. I didn't even know what was going on. Come on. Anyway, 68.5. I've got them under that number.
Me too.
All right, we're gonna fly through the West here, Drew.
Yep.
So we can wrap this up without. Let's start with the Astros. The hated Astros. The Astros they had a bad year last year, but again, we have to kind of throw it out. This year could be a challenge for them because now there's fans back in the stadiums, which they're going to hear it. They didn't hear it last year. They'll hear it. Yeah. The only one they had to deal with last year pretty much was Taylor Joe. Oh gosh, who's the guy for the Dodgers that threw at every Astro he could find last year? He's hurt right now.
Oh, Kelly.
Oh, Joe Kelly. Right. Thank you. Yeah, he's the only guy they really had to deal with last year because he was taking a whole league on his shoulders to fight the Astros. But I think the Astros still have enough here to win this division. And Greinke is not the pitcher that he was, but he's still a solid major league pitcher. McCullers is really good. He just signed a long-term extension. Odorizzi I like a lot. Pitched well for the Twins. The back end might have some question marks, but I think they're good enough. The bullpen going to be a work in progress, but I think they can compete. The lineup still, there's enough there with Gurriel. Altuve's still a great player. Bregman's a great player. He's going to be an MVP candidate this year. Michael Brantley, I think it was important that they brought him back. Kyle Tucker's finally going to get a chance to play every day, and he's just an enormous talent, I think. And I'm probably leaving Correa is in a contract year. He's going to have incentive to come back and play a little bit better. Yeah. But, again, he's had a couple of bad years in a row, or down years anyway. I think they have enough to win the division myself.
They do. I don't think they're going to, but they do. Don't forget Yordan Alvarez is back and looking good. Yeah. So he can. Their starting pitching solid. Their bullpen's taking major hits. Pedro Baez he's injured. They just lost Paredes. Presley hasn't been what he was. They got Joe Smith back after last year, but we'll see. It's the potential's there, but also the potential to break down is there too.
I agree. A work in progress, and it's again their success will probably depend on the success of that bullpen. I think, in my mind. Oh, 86.5. I've got them going over that number and winning this division.
I have them actually going, slightly over that, but not winning.
Okay.
Slightly over that.
Let's go to the Angels. The Los Angeles Angels, not the California Angels.
Depends on the year.
Right. Great manager. I love Joe Madden. Best thing they got going for them. A healthy Shotani would be very helpful. I think he's, at the end of the day, I think he will be a much better hitter than he will be a pitcher. He's got great stuff, but he does not have it harnessed at all. And I think if they were smart, they'd probably put him at hitter and leave him there. But he's going to pitch. Dylan Bundy, I think, is a good pitcher. Andrew Haney's got some possibilities. Quintana at the back of the rotation, maybe. A big swing at closer in Iglesias. We'll see whether he's, going to be able to translate from the National League to the American League. And I think there's some nice players. I think Justin Upton's got a little bit left. Mike Trout obviously is, Mike Trout needs to get in the playoffs. Baseball needs Mike Trout to be in the playoffs. They just do. He's been the best player in the game for a decade now, about. And the guy's never won a playoff game. Dexter Fowler, we'll see if he's got anything left. Again, Otani needs to play somewhere, I think. And then they've got some young guys and a mixture of some young guys and some old guys. And I think this team is going to surprise a bit in the American League and take a wild card spot.
Okay, well, we disagree on that one. I think their pitching staff behind Bundy stinks. I think they're all going to go short innings, 4 or 5 inning stints. Iglesias was a great pick, but you got to have someone to get to him. The best they got right now is Mike Myers.
Yeah.
And they still got to sign him to a contract extension, or they lose him after the year anyway.
Yeah, well, for this year, I don't think it matters. I think their bullpen. I think their bullpen's really good, and it can pick up that back end half of the rotation.
It might. I think it's unproven at this point. The Dexter Fowler deal, I don't get at all. I mean, they got guys in the minors, Taylor Ward, Brandon Marsh. I don't know why the hell they signed him.
It is a little odd, but hopefully he's got something left. I just like Joe Madden, and I think he will. This team will overperform. 83.5. I've got them going over.
I have them going under, actually.
Okay. Interesting. Let's move on to well, we won't go there yet. Let's go to the A's. The A's always, it's amazing to me. Another team that amazes me every year. Moneyball is a real thing. And it's great for winning, getting into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They've been very consistent in making the playoffs, either winning a division or getting a wild card, but it is not conducive to winning championships. That much, I think, is well proven. With that said, I'm just not sure about this A's team again, but I could probably say that every year, right? I'm not sure about this A's team. I've probably said that for 15 years. And their manager, I like a lot. He's done a great job. But they continue to lose guys, like they lost Hendricks this year and Simeon, right? Yeah. They brought in a couple of guys that can, and Jed Lowry. Or was Lowry there? I think it was.
No, they brought him in.
Yeah, they brought him in. Elvis Andrus was a great player for a time with the Rangers. I just don't. Again, I say this every year. I like Mac Chapman a lot, obviously. Again, in the interest of time, I'm not seeing a lot here, but that is not going to tell me that they are not going to maybe find a way to overachieve like they always do.
Yeah, they're big on defense, power, starter potential. Is if these guys actually hit, Bassett, Luzardo, Minaya, Montas, Puck just keeps getting hurt. He's going to end up in the bullpen for the rest of his life. I don't see that happening. The worst part is, of course, Trout's going in the Hall of Fame. The worst part is Rosenthal. The loss of Rosenthal was huge.
Yeah.
He was supposed to replace Hendricks. With him gone for the year, they're going to be a little hurt in the bullpen.
87.5. I've got them under that number.
I've got them more. I actually have them winning the division. That was before Rosenthal was hurt, but I got to stick by it.
Well, that's okay. And by the way, Dave Gadd had asked if we thought Mike Trout was Hall of Fame material, and he's already in the Hall of Fame, so he doesn't have to play another game.
Nope.
I don't think. Great player. And Dave, we will give our World Series predictions here in a second. So let's move on to the Rangers. Not much for me to say about the Rangers.
Ugh.
Another team that just is, not, again, they had a really good run for a while, but they have not been able to get it going here the last bunch of seasons. And I don't know that I'm going to see anything different out of them this year.
No.
Not crazy about their starting pitching. Not crazy about their bullpen when Ian Kennedy's your closer. Offensively, I mean, some of the kids at the Profor and Odor and Andrus, I mean, they had some great kids come up through this organization and just kind of flash the pans and flame out. Joey Gallo is a hit or miss guy, right? He's going to hit home runs or strike out. Their big offensive acquisition is David Dahl. What's he going to do outside of? You might have the numbers in front of you. I don't see that guy doing much outside of.
I do have the numbers, and they are not pretty.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not. Willie Calhoun is probably their best player on offense. Maybe Chris Davis. Chris Davis is a nice player, I guess, but this team is not going anywhere.
No, it's not. They got some nice pieces. I like Nick Solak a lot in their infield.
Yeah.
And Nate Lowe's going to be interesting. He's going to launch a bunch. He's going to strike out a lot too. And they got another catcher in the future, Sam Huff, which I think will be good. And Josh Young is probably going to come up. That's a rookie to watch.
I forgot to mention Brock Holt's your starting third baseman, so you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's not good.
Rangers. Go ahead.
No, Holt's injured, so whatever.
Rangers 66.5. I've got them under that number.
I've got them also way under that number.
Seattle, a team that is building for the future, and I think will have a good future ahead of them, but it's not here yet.
No.
Let's see. Let me get to my hold on. Oh, gosh, where'd my page go? There it is. Again, I think the Rangers are building something here, and I think there's Marco Gonzalez has kind of turned his career around after leaving the Phillies. He wasn't much good there. They've got some kids like Justin Sheffield and Justin Dunn, not ready to contribute, I don't think. Matt Retread, Montero is their closer. Not much to get excited about there. Kyle Seager, offensively, Kyle Seager's a nice player. I like Taylor Trammell a lot. I love his potential. I don't know if he's there yet. Kyle Lewis had a decent year last year. Ty France has got some potential, but again, this team is not ready to compete just yet.
No, pitching is awful. I mean, Paxton just got injured yet again. Shocker.
Yeah, really.
Kikuchi actually is nice. His numbers didn't look good, but in actuality, if you look deeper, he was a decent pitcher. But again, nothing to build on.
Yeah.
They got some nice guys. Dylan Moore is a nice guy to build on. I think the big another comeback year, Haniger, I think is going to be great.
Yeah.
Healthy. Their strength is going to be outfield. They still got Rodriguez in the minors. They got Kalenic in the minors.
Yeah.
It's all about the outfield at this point, and that's not going to be enough to carry a team.
No, but they're 72.5. I've actually got them going maybe a tick over that, 75 wins maybe.
I have 72.5, maybe right, but maybe 75. So that's pretty funny.
Well, we're both over there. So to wrap things, our division winners. I don't know if we got our. Let's see. I've got in the National League. I've got the Braves. I'm sorry, we're in the American League, aren't we? We already did that. Yankees, Twins, Astros. My wild cards are the Angels and the White Sox.
Okay.
And I have the Chicago White Sox going to the World Series.
As a wild card.
As a wild card.
Nice.
So that's a Braves White Sox World Series. And I have the Braves winning. So you can give me your recap your National League or American League picks for me.
I varied drastically in the American League. From you.
I know you did.
I had the Blue Jays and the White Sox and the A's winning.
Yeah.
With the Yankees and the Astros as and the Astros as wild cards. I actually have a Blue Jays Dodgers World Series.
Blue Jays? And who's I think I know who's going to win that.
Dodgers.
It's going to be a fun year, Drew. I had fun doing this. I think we covered a lot of ground. We spent some more time on some teams than others, and if you're fans of those teams, I apologize. You can certainly make a comment when you watch this, and I'll certainly look to respond. I think it's going to be a fun year. I think it's fun seeing fans back in the stadiums. I think we'll see that grow as the summer goes on, hopefully. And I'm looking forward to an exciting season. Just because I complain a lot about the way the game's played today doesn't mean I don't still love it, guys. I do, but I just remember it being different. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the old guy yelling at people to get off my lawn, but
it may be. I still hate the double headers with 7 innings and the starting a guy on second base thing. I'm not a fan.
Yeah. We could spend another entire show on that, and
But it's baseball.
Maybe we will when we do a mid-season recap, Drew. We'll do that. How about that?
Okay, that works.
Listen, I want to thank you for joining me today, Drew.
Thanks for having me.
And I want to thank everybody who watched with us today and who will watch this as we go forward. All the groups I'm allowed to share it to. Watch everything on Northeast Streaming Sports. I want to welcome all of you from Zodiac TV again. I'll be back next Sunday at 9 a.m. Remember, next Friday, my guest will be Larry Sorensen, former All-Star pitcher for the Brewers and the Cardinals and the Indians and a couple other teams. We'll have a great conversation with Larry. We'll see y'all later. Have a great Sunday.